Hi, Richard.
Hi, Robin.
So it's nice to see you on a Friday afternoon.
Finally, we get to be together again in the office.
I know, it's our favorite thing.
It's been a while.
It has been.
I know.
So we are lucky to do what we do best, talk about design and architecture.
That's what we love.
Coming to sketch with you and work on some brilliant plans for Marvell Homes.
It's exciting. We're doing a bunch, and this is a continuing series for us.
Yes.
It's always good to collaborate with you.
Thank you. Likewise. So here we are. We've got several homes in Forest Hill with Marvell, which is really one of our favorite neighborhoods to work in.
Right.
I think probably because we have the opportunity to collaborate on some great projects.
And it's a great area for us because it's so diverse, and there's so many different architectural styles, so we're not limited to one particular style of design, and we can kind of keep expanding our vocabulary with it, and that's what's really been the attraction for me. I don't know, you're an architect and an interior designer, so for us, I just find that we're not limited, and so we can keep trying new things, whether it becomes something more contemporary or something still in a traditional phase or something in the middle. That's what's great about it for us.
So true, especially with clients like Marvell, who have given us the opportunity really to create something unique for them. So that gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of the architecture. What would you say, style-wise, you gravitate the most in terms of architecture these days?
I think for me, it's not being labeled that we do one thing. And really, I treat architecture almost like a dialect of language, many different dialects. So it's nice to be able to express yourself in so many different ways so that you're not stuck in one genre, and you have to just learn about design in all different styles and templates. And so for me, I really don't have a favorite. As long as it's good design, I like doing it. So whether it's a traditional design, if it's going to be traditional, then I really want to get the detail and proportion correct. If it's a contemporary design, then I really want to explore materiality and volumes and massing. And so for me, that's what keeps it interesting. It's never kind of one thing that you keep doing over and over, but you do many things. And we're lucky because they're letting us explore different styles, and we're not just kind of cookie cutting, where we're really trying to do a different project in each site. And I think that's when we met, we said it's very important to expand your kind of portfolio so that you show, even as designers, we're not stuck, because we can do a very traditional design, and then you'll take it over on the interior, and it could be completely contemporary inside, something very surprising when you walk through the front door. You don't expect that, and that's kind of nice.
True, and I love when we collaborate together because I really feed off of your architecture, and then mixed in with the unique style of the client, we create an interior that I think brings everything from inside out.
And I think, like you said, collaborative is the word, because it's not here's one set of drawings and then you just take it over. We actually sit at the beginning and we work together to decide what kind of style we think will work together, and then that informs our plans. And with Marvell, it's nice because they contribute to it, but they're giving us a lot of authorship in it and what we think will work well for the village, and certainly in the other areas, but what people will like. And so it's not just a guess. We're really kind of synthesizing some ideas to get something that's unique, but it will stand the test of time.
What do you think in terms of the projects we're working on for Marvell? What's inspiring you the most?
I think right now what's interesting is the variety of the lots that we're getting as well. There's a lot of movement in the lots and elevation, so we're taking advantage of that. As well, each project, just even in its neighborhood, on its orientation of its lot, it sort of tells you what to do. So, we have another upcoming project that's going to be on a corner lot, and so that's going to be a totally different house, and we have to look at where it is in the village, what's surrounding it. We don't want necessarily stick out too much, but we still want to be independent, and I think what really tells us is how the light is going to sit, how the approach to the site will work. That kind of starts to develop a plan for us, and then with that we try to think of a new image of what kind of expansion in the portfolio we can create. There's another architectural style we can explore that'll differentiate them from just the typical infill that does the same thing over and over. And that's really harder for us, but that's why, you became a designer. I mean, as an architect, and I became an architect, we want to keep expanding our our vocabulary and our knowledge. We don't just want to sit and do what we've always done. We want to explore and experiment. How did you decide to become an interior designer?
Well, actually, I was an architect first, Richard. Graduated from U of T architecture at a time when it was a very modernist school. And then I had the privilege to study in Florence, where my whole world and impression of architecture changed. I fell in love with Florence, fell in love with classical architecture, came back and knew that I needed to work in a residential firm. I chose high-end residential, or what we call luxury residential, because it afforded me the most opportunity to work with such incredible materials and obviously large-scale projects and higher budget projects that didn't have the same constraints. And as I was a young architect and enjoying it, I realized that I was gravitating towards the interiors. And I decided to pursue interior design fully, which has, given me opportunities to this date of, forming my own interior design company, and then getting to work with incredible architects such as yourself, who I enjoy so much. And I think that my knowledge of interiors, along with my training in architecture, has given me a very I guess, experienced and skilled outlook and ability to connect with you on actual real technical drawings where I can make informed decisions about the interior, respecting the architecture, which is...
But still helping the architects, because a lot of times architects really don't have a sense of interiors and what's going to be important, and it's sometimes just about the building and not necessarily about how you're going to live in it, how it's finished. And again, there's a lot of architects that do interiors as well, but sometimes it's the same of the same.
Yes, and they can have more of maybe a purist approach towards the building. And so I think thinking about and working with clients, we sort of marry the two, the form and the function in terms of how people are living and wanting to use their home, and also marrying that with a style that complements the architecture. So for me, it's actually been the most enjoyable process to be able to be a part of both, but with the concentration on the interiors and taking that project to the end, with its furnishings, with its art. And then, of course, I love when you visit at the end. And then we get to have a glass of wine and we get to see the collaboration. And
great.
Usually that is with a happy client if we're having wine at the end.
And we always have fun.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we've had a really good relationship. And for us, it's always been great working with you because you know what we need you to know. Or a lot of designers haven't achieved that, but having your background really makes it easy for us because we can also anticipate what you'll be thinking and how would Robin set this up, because we want to also make sure it flows well for you. So we don't want to create something that's impossible to design out of. So that's why the collaborative process works from the beginning. And
likewise for us, our office has, the least amount of sort of back and forth in terms of massaging the interiors, because Richard is so, committed to proportion. He's so committed to sight lines, and he's also committed to making the client happy and giving them their wish list. Yeah. So we have that sort of connection over those ideas that sort of meander through the project as it comes to the finish.
I think that's why I gravitate to residential as well. I mean, we do a bit of everything here. We still do golf clubs and we're doing condominiums and other projects like that. But I've always loved the residential because we get to meet people that actually live in the home. And I've always found there's a warmth to that. And there's something that's exciting because you actually are part of that experience with them, and it's not kind of this anonymous process. So you see from the very beginning, you're excited because you know what it's going to look like in the end. They often can't really picture it till they are in it. And that's how I started working just in a small firm, and I started doing the residential. I found that's what I gravitated to. So when I started on my own, I decided that's how I would start as well. I just thought I want to stay in that, and that's grown to the point where now we're doing larger buildings, luxury buildings, where it's really kind of our homes, but in the sky. And a lot of developers have approached us to bring that kind of level of detail into buildings, which in Toronto, there's not a lot of it. If you go to New York or London, Paris, you'll see some beautiful details even in the older buildings. And that's kind of become my new signature, is that I want to bring that to this city and kind of leave buildings that have that luxury, the detail, the warmth, that contribute, not just a glass box that hits the ground and, after 2 years it doesn't look well. I want this building to age well and, almost become an icon. So that's kind of where I've used my residential experience to bring it up to the next level. But I still like where I started, and I still love doing the homes. That's really the most enjoyment for me.
And I think when people ask us what our signature style is, and we both concur that we really don't have one signature style. I think we both have our own personal style. You have a gorgeous home that you designed, that you still are, presenting to clients as if, you designed it yesterday. And it has that attention to detail, especially in its architecture and some of the interior spaces that you've carved out. And I think that for me, I use every client as a muse. If they like a certain interior style, if it's more traditional or if it's more transitional or contemporary, then I get to be a little bit of a chameleon and draw from that. And especially if we gel on that and there's a synergy and a connection for interiors, then that's the best client, where they're along for this amazing ride and we're feeding off of each other, just like we do.
And they trust you and they let you have some latitude and experiment. And that's the whole beauty of it. And for us, it's just not to have a signature style. I think the signature should be, somebody should be able to recognize your work. And what is it that they recognize? It's usually the detailing, the proportionality, materiality. They know it's a good home. And you don't have to understand architecture, but you look at it and it somehow feels right. There's a lot of projects out there that they're copies of copies of copies. And I just don't think they're getting it. They're just trying to do it to imitate something. So you have to try to experiment with different ideas. And that's the true test that, you've reached something, that people are actually copying your work.
Absolutely.
But you want to keep getting better.
Yes.
And the minute you stop, then you shouldn't be doing it anymore. So you really want to keep growing and learning. I've been doing this for now almost 37 years.
Right. So
and I still feel like I'm not where I want to be.
Right.
And I'll always be like that, because if I stop, then what am I learning? And if I'm not learning, then I'm not going to enjoy it anymore.
And I think that's probably one of the most important things that we'd say to young, inspiring architects or young, inspiring interior designers, is that you've got to go into it knowing that you love it. You've got to understand design, but you also have to understand people. And you've got to understand the meaning of your work, and how that work even transcends through time, and the responsibility that we have, to create these interiors. We're responsible for a lot of money, and we're responsible for people's environments. And so I think that anybody going into this field, it's challenging, it's exciting. There's, I think, amazing outcomes and moments where you can sit back and be so proud of your work. Absolutely. As I have been, and I know you have, but also the fact that you're constantly learning. Like, we never press repeat. We're always trying to strive for something new. So it's an incredible creative environment that we get to keep reinventing, keep current, keep up with the trends, or set the trends, or try and preserve precedents, I think. So I feel for that reason, we're both very lucky to be able to do what we do.
And the most important thing is to have a passion for what you do. Because once it's work, then it's not fun. So again, running a business, we can talk about a typical day. Like any business has its trials and tribulations, but when you wake up and you are excited to start something new and you get to develop it and it starts to show, and people, the first thing they say is, you're very passionate. And I said, but if you're not, then don't do this. It's a hard profession. These are tough professions. They're not easy. They take a lot of work, a lot of effort. There's a lot of risk, and there's a lot of work and a lot of time. There's no instant success. It takes years. And I mean, just the curve to get where we are, that's a commitment. But that commitment comes because you love doing it. And the reward is when you actually see your work and you see how it's used, you see the appreciation for it, and you can walk by. And there's a little ego in there, but to say that I've done that.
Of course. That's
a wonderful feeling. And somebody once said, if you could do anything else, what would you do? Any profession or any... And I thought about it for like maybe 5 seconds. I said, there's nothing else I'd rather do. I'm not made for anything else. This is what I'm made for. And, my whole life is basically, my work life has really defined me to some degree, good or bad, but wherever I go, I'm looking, I'm seeing, and that's my joy. And so I want to bring that to people. And even my own home, it's been designed almost 14 years ago. But I go up to it and I look at the workmanship and all the craftsmanship that's gone into the home. And I know all the people that did those specific elements. And I get to have that. And how lucky. And I said, it's so nice that you get to meet people that are just as passionate about their own craft, and you're really orchestrating with them. But then you get the benefit. And you hope that all the people that you get to work with, they'll feel the same way about it. And that's that's a great reward, because you get that excitement. And even when I see other architects work, I was just recently in New York, and I was just having the greatest time looking at all the new buildings, and some really good, some okay, but the good ones, I'm just wondering, wow, how did they think of that? So I always have something to look forward to, and I know that I can get better, and that's the drive. Like, tomorrow's another day, there's going to be another project, hopefully, and how can I be better? And that passion just should show in your work, and I think that's what my day is like.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then, when you carve out that little bit of time for yourself where you can sketch something, you have that moment of clarity. That's my favorite part, because I think our days are, especially now with managing a busy company like you do, like I do, we have so many different parts to the management, the day-to-day with our clients, the day-to-day with our staff.
Just running a business.
Running a business. But when we get to pull out the creative moments, that makes it all worthwhile for me.
That's the magic. When I'm at my desk, when I'm in my office, I don't work at what I do. I work running a company and meeting with people. But then when I'm at my desk at home, that's my creativity. That's my enjoyment. All the sketches here are done at my home, and that's on my own time. And that's really that's the magical part of it. And you can't trade that in. And there's a great feeling of appreciation and privilege that you get to do this. And not anybody gets picked all the time. When somebody actually selects you to do something, you have to be appreciative
it's a privilege.
That you're lucky that they want you. And then because of that, you want to commit your best effort to that.
Absolutely.
To make sure that they get the best out of you.
I always thank people and for the opportunities that we get, because they really are a privilege for us to be able to work on these magnificent homes for these incredible clients. Yeah. I mean, we are.
And when you look back at your volume and you look at how much you've done, how much you've contributed, it's long. And I never really think about it, but then as you go through the streets,
you drive through the streets,
you see a lot, and
there's history behind that.
And it reminds you how old you are.
Yes, it does. I always remember when I was pregnant, when I got married, right? Yeah. Because they're marked by certain times in your life where I was doing that project. Those clients were, there at that time. Yeah. It is a history, and there's amazing connections. As we've said, both with our colleagues, with our tradespeople, with our clients. It's a whole network of amazing people that we're lucky we get to join forces with, our builders that create our work, the ones who really get how we want things done and bring it to fruition.
And commit to it. And the same even with like younger staff. If somebody wants to become an architect, we've had a lot of people come in and shadow us. And I've actually had one young man that's joined us after he'd been with us when he was in grade 9.
Oh, wow.
And now he's working with us and contributing beautifully to the office and really independently growing. And it's for me to watch people come up, that's even more rewarding, just to teach and try to impart ideas, but just really to let them kind of experience what I've experienced. I said, there's nothing like it. And I just wish, even I told my children that it doesn't matter what you do, but I want you to feel what I feel every day, because that's what makes life worth living when you're working like this.
Absolutely.
It's incredible.
I have a staff that say to me every day, how do you do it? How do you work so hard? How do you have so much energy? I said, I can't explain it. It's just all I want to do. Yeah. And it's just a desire to be successful, but it's also being fulfilled on a daily basis. This was never a job. I think every time I worked for somebody, I worked as if it was my company, even though it wasn't, until it was my company.
And that's why you are where you are.
So, and likewise.
And the effort's always there, but you have to keep putting it in.
Yes.
Yeah, but you do benefit from it.
Absolutely. We're extremely lucky.
Yeah.
And extremely lucky for getting to know each other over so many years.
Absolutely, and we've got lots more projects to work on.
Mm-hmm.